Hey, welcome back to Sunrise. How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for staying with us for another great conversation. Now, September is Suicide Prevention Month, and we here at Sunrise, we want to make sure that all our viewers understand the importance of mental wellness and how daily mental check-ins can be just as vital as those physical checkups that we all understand are necessary. So counseling psychologist at the Phoenix Counseling Center, Dr. Patrice Charles King, is here to help us. Welcome, Doc. How are you?
Good morning, Doc. How are you?
I'm good.
Lovely.
Good. Mindfulness is so important. We're even seeing it now, apps like on Apple has like a mindful moment and encouraging you to think about particular things. But why is it so important to pause, even on a daily basis, and do a mental check-in?
Pause, reset, take a breath. You know, you're just going throughout your day.
Yeah.
And everything kind of gets into a routine. And sometimes when bad things happen in your day, that becomes a routine. So you wake up the next morning with the baggage, with the negativity, and that's how you continue going through your day. By the end of the week, you just feel completely exhausted. You're drained. You're not sure why you feel sad, why you feel depressed. You don't even want to see the weekend coming in. And it's because every day you wake up, you just kind of like pile on the negative emotions, and those negative emotions will reinforce whichever negative experience you had during the week or during the day.
Doc, I find that a lot of persons have trauma from childhood that they have not dealt with. And just like you said, the piling on and the piling on, and then it becomes explosive. How do we unpack? How do we distill those childhood traumas that we've experienced so that they don't come and haunt us when we're adults and get us in a downward spiral that we feel like we can't get out of?
Well, first I'm going to encourage anyone that's experiencing trauma, anyone that's experiencing childhood trauma, to get help. That's the first and foremost. Reach out to someone that's professional that can walk you through the steps of trauma counseling and intervention. But secondly, is to recognize that this trauma actually existed. So what we normally do is we try to deny it. We don't validate it in any way. We just try to hide from it. We are afraid to think about it. And the truth is, we think about it more than anything else, because fear creates that avoidance. So if I'm afraid of Dennis, then I'm going to avoid him. But then this is the person that I actually need to acknowledge that something happened. I need to learn a positive lesson from it so that I can either accept it and move on. So that's basically how you actually deal with childhood trauma. We call it an implicit memory. So implicit memories don't have to be bad. You know, sometimes you smell something, it reminds you of something from your childhood, or you hear music from high school, you're like, oh,
brings you back to that place,
Right, so sometimes though, we see a color, we see green, we see orange, we see blue, and it just creates anxiety within us. And that's because when we were a child, we used to get locked into a room that had that color on the wall. And so seeing it now just kind of brings back that
trigger.
that implicit memory.
At the subconscious level.
When we have that implicit memory, what it does, it kind of causes our working mind, our frontal lobes, our conscious memory to dim. So that's why they say that when you're so emotional, you can't really think logically.
Yes.
So that's what it's all about. And so it's really important to understand that sometimes you're speaking to someone, you're speaking to your children, you're speaking to your co-workers, your family, and how you're connecting to them is actually not because of what's happening right here and now, but because of a implicit memory.
And so, like, sometimes you're in our argument, and the argument have nothing to do with the thing that you are supposedly
that the punishment don't fit the crime. Like, why are you so upset?
It couldn't be about what I said. It must be something else. How do we now operationalize this abstract concept of a mental health check-in? What are some actual tasks that we can perform to check, am I okay? What's going on with me? In the same way that I would say, you know, I have to check my blood pressure, or if you're diabetic, you have to check your blood sugar. I mean, from a mental health perspective, what are the things that we can do to pause and check?
Right. So I don't like telling people to do things that I don't think it's just not realistic. So what I do for myself, I get up in the morning and throughout my day, I'm grateful. It doesn't even matter how small it is, but just to show gratitude for everything I have and for those that are in my life.
Yes.
And I call it out. Because sometimes, like, you know, you take it for granted. You know, you're like, oh, Lord, I'm sitting here in traffic and I'm miserable.
But
and I'm like, and a very nice one. That can't be. The other one is, you know, oh, Lord, I don't have any money, I'm broke. And then when I thought about it and I said it to my husband and I said, you know, our broke isn't really what most people would say broke is. So it's really how you...
You have food in your house.
You know,
So it's I pull it back a lot. And before that negative, you know, what I would call voice comes out, I would say, you know, I'm grateful for what I have. I'm grateful for the fact that I'm able to sit in my car in traffic. And so the lessons that I teach myself or that I take from my day, even when the taxi man upset me, I would say, I hope you reach where you're going. Because I try to respond to my circumstances in a positive way. So gratitude and just deliberately responding to the circumstances differently. Because that's what really makes a difference. And that's how you know when you're beginning to change towards a more positive way of life, is how you respond to the same circumstances differently.
Well, sorry, Dennis, let me just ask this, Doc, because I know we don't have a culture of going to see a psychologist. A lot of people frown on that. A lot of people look down on that, and they see, if I'm not mad, so I'm not got nobody, and I'm going to chat my business. Some people, though, even though they're grateful, there are still things that they must address.
Absolutely.
And they may feel to cry, or they need some professional help.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of psychologists, I mean, do we have a lot of you guys that we can call and book a session and just get somebody to talk to? Because sometimes people are talking to the wrong people and getting the wrong advice. So what would you say to that?
Google. Go on Jam Psych. So we do have a psychological...
Jam Psych, I didn't know about
Jam Psych, yes.
Oh, wow.
Jampsych.org. Just go on Jam Psych. They have a list of licensed psychologists.
Oh, wow.
They're clinical psychologists, they're trauma specialists, child psychologists, and so counseling psychologists, we're in abundance. You have, at master's level, you have the associate psychologists, and of course you have the doctoral levels. I can say I'm doctor.
Yes.
Doctoral level. And so there are quite a few of us out there.
Nice.
And I would, you know, there are some that are in private practice. You can Google or go on Instagram and you can see, but we're definitely out there.
Nice.
The Council of Professional Services also have a list of psychologists that are licensed. I think it's very important to go to someone that you know that based on the standards of the Ministry of Health can do what they are supposed to do, that they're licensed, they're keeping up on their continuing education credits, and the specialty that they're in, they're solid in that profession.
Nice. Awesome. Like that. I love that, and I thank you for that, Doc, because especially at this time, I know for a lot of parents, a lot of people, there's a lot of anxiety, and even the children too. And I would encourage the parents to check in mentally with your child as well, or your children as well, because it's one thing to want them to get good grades and so on, but we want to make sure that they are also mentally sound.
Take the moment to just ask the question, how are you doing? You know, I see that you're not smiling today. Is everything okay? And you have to know what's the right question to ask. Because if you ask a question, sometimes, are you okay? They don't know if they're okay. They don't know how to answer that question. So kids, especially teenagers,
you have to get very good at like with... how was your day? Good? One word. You have to break down different... Did anybody make you laugh today? Oh, what was that about? You know,
who did you have lunch with today?
You have to ask
eat?
questions.
I'm going to say You know, cross-examination.
Kids are very dry when you ask them about these questions.
Because they actually think that you're looking for some kind of information to use back against them. You know, it's also that trust issue. So the same way that when you have your partners that you want that vulnerability, it's the same type of trust and vulnerability that you want with your children. And so you have to earn it.
I like
so when you say that you're going to do something,
do it.
Do it. When you say you're going to be there and be involved, be there, be involved.
Love that. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you very much.
Very well said. And of course, you have to say good morning to Mr. King as well. Our wonderful guest this morning, Dr. Patrice Charles King, JP, counselor, counseling psychologist, right?
Yes.
At the Phoenix Counseling Center. And please, guys, remember to check yourself before you wreck yourself. And if you need help, you're not alone. Reach out to someone.
Absolutely.
We're here to help you. And as Doc said, Jam Psych website, find a trusted
one
person.
that works for you.
Yeah,
Yes.
find one that works for you. But don't just bottle it up inside. Don't sweep it under the carpet, and then it piles up and becomes overwhelming, all right? Everybody have them sore foot. I know you're alone, so we're all in this together, all right? We're going to take a moment to inhale, exhale, breathe, and come right back to sunrise.